huge crowds at Swayze all weekend, 2 top 10 teams going at it. Great baseball games for the casual observer, and emotionally charged as well for a lot of reasons, including the crowd and the rankings and everything else associated with it. How do you think your team handled all of that this weekend?
I think we handled it great. I mean, I really did. I thought, we competed great. I think we put it on the line. I think we really showed up in all 3 phases of the game. There's not, get into this crap moral victories and all of that. It's just, as a coach, you realize that you want to show up and you want to compete and you want to, you want to play good baseball. And I thought we did that, and like I said, a little short. I think doing it in my head, the math, I think they scored in 27 innings. They scored 18 runs. We scored 17. And so it was a really close weekend. It could have went either way, and unfortunately, we ended up on the wrong side of that.
Mason Morris in Game 1 was absolutely dominant in relief. Is that a role that you think that you're really comfortable with him being in, or have you guys considered possibly moving in to a starting role?
Well, we talk about it a lot, but this is really where we are right now. Mason is terrific, but so are the other guys, and I think it's easy to sit back and pick and choose the weekends of who you didn't like that weekend, and maybe we should have started this guy, or maybe we should have batted this guy higher in the lineup, and that's great as fans and everybody else. But one of the things, to think about is there's 27 outs, or 27 innings to get through that weekend. And we know Maddox is going to get some. We know Elliott's going to get some. We know Nichols is going to get some. Mason's always going to get some. Hopefully Spencer's going to get some. And you start to try to figure out what's the best way to navigate through that. To this point, and it's worked pretty well for us, is, not many times are, starting pitchers pitching into the 7th and 8th inning for anybody. And it doesn't matter if it's Friday night or if it's Sunday. And he's been a good, guy to follow up for Hunter Elliott, and really given us a great opportunity to win on Friday night, but also given us an opportunity to not use valuable bullpen pieces that early in the weekend. And so when you look at what he did, on Friday night for us, he came in, and pitched 5 innings, and so really allowed us not to use the bullpen and really gave us an opportunity to possibly win the game and only use up 2 guys.
Speaking of Maddox, that's 2 weeks in a row. You guys dropped Game 1, and he steps up with a lot of pressure, being the starting pitcher of Game 2 of a series after you lose Game 1, and was just excellent yet again against one of the best lineups, if not the best lineup in the sport. Yeah,
no, you're exactly right, and I totally agree. But that's, again, I think one of the reasons that we're at where we're at is because of all those guys. It's Elliott, it's Maddox, it's Nichols, and it's been Morris. Those guys, and really Spencer, when he's had a little bump in the road health-wise, a few weeks ago. But beyond that, those have been the most consistent guys. And when you're talking about 3 of them are starters and 2 of them are valuable bullpen pieces, I think that consistency has really helped us. And to pitch a guy like Maddox, a guy that's been through the wars of the SEC, a veteran guy that can handle the ups and downs. I'm proud of the way he's pitched, but that's what you hope for when you're running veteran guys out there.
Speaking of that, Connor Spencer, I know he's been coming off of an injury. What is his, status? I know, of course, he pitched this weekend, but how close is he back to being 100% for you guys for a full weekend?
I think stuff-wise, he's there. I think stuff-wise, he's been terrific. But coming off the little shoulder tendonitis, I think we just have to be careful of how much we ask of him. And to pitch on back-to-back days after what we call an up-down, meaning he didn't just pitch, got 3 outs. He actually pitched, he got hot, he pitched, he sat down, and then got up again. You can do that with closers, but that's a lot to ask, and then to have them come back the next day, is tough. And he didn't feel great on Sunday after that. He feels better today. He's going to be fine, but we got to be careful that we don't just, throw him back into the fire too often to where we bang him up again and to where we possibly lose him for a weekend. So I think as far as stuff and, where he is strength-wise, he's great, but to get back to being able to pitch multiple times, hopefully that's coming soon.
Yeah. And as a result, you did throw him this weekend, of course, but just the one time you had the opportunity in the top of the ninth and just couldn't get it done. What went into the decision to pitch who you did, and then will we see Canny possibly in that role moving forward if given the opportunity?
That's a great question, and one I don't really have the answer to, because I think that's really, depends on matchup, and, a lot of those things are decided before the game of, who do we think is the best matchup and who do we think, where do we want to go? A lot of times those decisions, we kind of figure out who is the best, look for, certain hitters and certain teams. And, this is one where we tried to go with our best guys, and we felt, those were our best opportunities. But again, sometimes it doesn't work. And when you look, it really didn't work for 5 innings, and so Dennis pitched great, but beyond that, we pitched 6 guys, through those 5 innings, and probably none of them would look back at that except for Dennis, and you could look back and say, hey, that was a really good outing for me. And so, I think, it's easy to look at the last 3 outs, but, at the end of the day, we gave up, too many runs, from the 5th inning on. I think we gave up 8 runs.
Coach, last one for you. Luke Hill joins your program, obviously, as a transfer last year. And not only has been a great player for you, but it looks like he's, from our vantage point anyway, like an emotional leader for your team. Is that how he is in the dugout and in the locker room as well for you guys? And what can you say about the season that he's having thus far for your team?
Well, certainly the season has been terrific. I mean, he's the guy that we always thought he would be, and really last year he just got off to a slow start, but he was our leading hitter in Southeastern Conference play last year, and so that's saying a lot with the year that Leger and Fisher and all those other guys had. Luke was the leading hitter, I think, in SEC play. But there's no doubt he's one of the leaders on the team, but he's also, I think, a different guy when he puts that uniform on and runs out on that field. He's a performer. He's a guy that loves the spotlight, loves the big moment. That's neat when you watch athletics, and as coaches, you want guys that want to be in that moment, and he's one of those guys. And so when you see him off the field a little bit in street clothes, he's not that emotional guy. He's just the guy from next door with a good personality. But when he puts that uniform on, there's a different gear to him, and it's fun to watch. And obviously, it's been great for us.
Coach, we really appreciate your